Thank you, Jeff. Well, this has been a World Cup full of firsts. Some have been better received than others, and there'll be at least one more here today, as either Ivory Coast or Norway will win a knockout game on the biggest stage. Both have impressed so far. The Ivorians have a clutch of eye-catching youngsters, while the Norwegians are a long way from the long ball merchants of the mid-90s and have a striker who could yet rival Lionel Messi for the Golden Boot. Brazil await the winners, so this, without any question, is the biggest day in the football history of these two nations. And it's a grand stage once again, the AT&T Stadium in Dallas. Under the roof, conditions perfect due to the air conditioning, and both teams are currently heading out onto the field to gather around the huge FIFA map in the centre of the pitch. And this promises to be a fascinating game, and either of these sides could be potential quarter-final opponents for England. And a wonderful atmosphere inside the stadium pre-match. The Norwegian supporters seem to be outnumbering those from the Ivory Coast, but still plenty of noise, plenty of pride and plenty of passion when the Ivorian anthem rung around this stadium. A reminder of the two teams. Norway, the first side ever in World Cup history to make 10 changes in 2 successive games. Patrick Berger Bodo Glimt is the only player to be retained from that 4-1 loss against the French at the end of the group stage, although Ståle Solbakken, their coach, says he has no regrets because it kept the likes of Erling Haaland and Martin Ødegaard fresh for this game. Their team is Nyland in goal, Pedersen, Ayer, Hegem and Muller-Wolf the back four, Ødegaard, Berger and Berg in midfield, with Sorloth, Haaland and Nusa in attack. 3 changes for the Ivory Coast. Emmanuel Agbadou and Ghislaine Konan come back into the back four for Ousmane Diamonde and Christopher Apare. And Christina Ulay, a very highly rated 20-year-old midfield player from Trabzonspor. He replaces Amad Diallo of Manchester United. Yan Diomande, the Leipzig winger, the first African teenager to play 4 games in a World Cup since Nigeria's Sunday Elise back in 1994. It is Fofana in goal, Doué, Kasunu, Agbadou and Konan the back four. Sangare holding in midfield. Pepe, Kesse, Ulay and Diomande behind Bonnet in attack. Jesus Valenzuela of Venezuela is our referee for this game. And the VAR official from Chile, Juan Lara. And he is supported by Jared Gillett, the Australian English official. And once again, one of the largest stadiums in NFL is full to the rafters for this match. And Scott Minto, it really is 50-50.
Yeah, honestly, Nigel, I cannot call this. I thought, and I said the same thing really when Norway played Senegal, and actually I was disappointed by Senegal. And Norway did the job, and Erling Haaland did the job, which is why what I said to Jeff a little bit earlier, that it might be that the Ivory Coast are able to control the game and the tempo with their midfielders. But actually Erling Haaland can pop up at any given moment and score that goal, 2 goals, and suddenly you're on the back foot. So look, I think it's a great game to watch. I hope that they go very much toe-to-toe. I think they definitely can. I would imagine that the Ivory Coast will continue with their sort of high-intensity, pressing, physical style. Again, as I said, I think Norway, with the physicality that they've got, will be able to handle that. So, yeah, almost clash of the Titans.
Brazil await the winners in New Jersey on the 5th of July. England could be potential quarter-final opponents in Miami, but that's still some way off. Don't forget, England against the Democratic Republic of Congo, live on Talk Sport from Atlanta, 5 o'clock tomorrow evening with Adrian Durham and the team. And we have 2 coaches here with experience of the English Championship. Emma Spy was once Reading's record signing, and Ståle Solbakken had an unhappy time in charge of Wolves in the Championship, so much so he was replaced by Dean Saunders. I'm sure Dino's listening.
Just as well you know him very well, as do I.
And it's Norway who will get this game underway wearing all white. Erling Haaland with 4 goals so far at this World Cup, 2 behind Lionel Messi. And of course Haaland has played 1 game fewer. And Ivory Coast wearing all orange today, looking to maintain Africa's challenge at this World Cup, which has been superb so far. And we are underway in Dallas. A match against Brazil is the prize for the winners, and straight away Ivory Coast lumped the ball out of play on the far side, and it will be a throw-in for Norway, who are defending the goal away to our right in the first half. It's thrown down the line, looking for Haaland, but Norway then quickly play it forward, and it's guided away by Odilon Kusunu of Atalanta. He may be given the job of trying to deal with Erling Haaland, but he's come over to this near side to try and catch Musa in the early stages down the Norwegian left. Now Mollewolf of Wolves, but his ball forward has been cut out by Nicolas Pepe, the match winner against Curaçao, and it will be a throw-in for Norway on this near side.
Yeah, interesting. Ivory Coast decided to do that sort of rugby style, kick it in the corner. We know that even top clubs like PSG do it as well, so it's just trying to put in a little statement. Listen, we're going to put you on the back foot if we can. And then since then it's been all Norway on the ball.
And Norway coming forward now, but Mollewolf will be beaten to it by Kusunu. Quickly forward towards Pepe, but he's robbed very easily in the end by Berger. And Sander Berger, the Fulham midfielder, leaves it for Ødegaard, who will just try and prompt now from the heart of the Norwegian midfield. 90 seconds played on TalkSport in the round of 32. It's a really big day at the World Cup. France against Sweden coming up live on TalkSport at 10 o'clock. And that's followed live from the Azteca Stadium, Mexico against Ecuador at 2 a.m. And of course, the winners of that game will play the winners of England's game in the round of 16. But it's a rather sedate start here under the roof in Dallas. Norway dominating possession, but very respectful of the Ivory Coast.
Yeah, Norway are having the possession. It's not as if the Ivory Coast are trying to press high. We're just waiting for them to come onto the halfway line.
Sulok now plays it down the line. The high cross in, looking for Haaland, who directs the header towards goal, but it's blocked by Kusunu, and it's hammered away on the far side for a throw-in.
Well, I mean, well done Norway, but it's too passive from Ivory Coast. They're saying about how they're not full press, and that's fine, but once you get to the halfway line, you can't allow them just a couple of little passes, get down the right and cross the ball in, and then there's a free header. Yes, they had numbers back and they got the clearance, but got to defend better than that.
Sulok looking to link up again with Pedersen on the far side, but this time Marcus Pedersen was offside, but he wasn't when he delivered that ball in for Haaland, but the header was blocked by Kusunu, and I'm not sure the pace on the header would have necessarily tested for fun.
It wasn't actually a great header, and he also had the chance, because they were a couple of yards off him, to try and chest it and volley it, which would have been interesting. His technique, we know he can certainly do that. It wasn't the best of headers, but it was a free one.
Ivory Coast played their group games in Toronto and Philadelphia, and Norway were up in the northeast in Boston and New York, so they've both headed south to Texas for this game, and the winner will be heading back up to the northeast again and the MetLife Stadium in the round of 16. Ødegaard now plays a high ball forward looking for Haaland, but Kusunu is there again to clear the ball away, but he rather overhit it, doesn't pick out Conan on the far side, and it will be a throw-in for Norway. 4 minutes played on TalkSport. Ivory Coast 0, Norway 0. The Ivorians the runners-up to Germany in their group, and Norway finished behind the French. And now a first opportunity for Diomande to bring it forward for Ivory Coast. Finds Bonnet. Bonnet is challenged on this near side, and it was a good challenge as well from Christopher Ayer of Brentford. And I think the ball's gone behind for a goal kick in the end. Indeed it has.
It's the first time the Ivory Coast have actually got into the final third, and in the end he was well shackled, Bonnet, for sure. At least that would give him a little bit of confidence, because I have to say, coming up to 5 minutes, it's been Norway with a better start.
Joan Bonnet, a player who was only allowed to play for Ivory Coast in May. He was a French under-21 international, made his debut in the win against France on June the 4th, as Ivory Coast conceded a free kick on halfway here for the challenge on Patrick Berg, the only survivor in the starting lineup from the 4-1 loss against France, which Stoller Solbakken basically wrote off.
Yeah, I don't read anything into that game at all. I mean, you can lose to France with that scoreline anyway, but basically their reserve side, second side, no, it was all about resting for the knockout stages. You know, well done to Erling Haaland and the other players. They clearly bought into what the manager's looking for, and we remember saying, well, you won't get Lionel Messi to do that, but he did. So again, I think these superstars understand that while they all want to be Golden Boot winners, the most important thing is to actually hold that trophy in the very last game.
Will you get Cristiano Ronaldo to do that? That's another question. Pedersen coming forward now down the right for Norway, but he's quickly held up. Of course, Alexander Sorloth is his wing support down that right-hand side, but Ivory Coast will clear the ball away. Conan's ball forward takes a deflection off a Norwegian boot, and it's straight out of play for a throw-in to Ivory Coast with 6 minutes played. But I think in these conditions, and when you look at the ages of some of the players we've talked about there, conserving the energy and managing the minutes is maybe even more important in this world.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think it's one of those where, with the greatest of respect, I don't think either of these two sides will get to the final. I don't think they'll get to the semi-final, but the fresher they are, clearly the maximum they can play. And if either of these sides, whoever gets through, play to their maximum, they'll give Brazil a good game for sure.
Because Ivory Coast with Ecuador 1-0 in their first game, a very late goal from Ahmed Diallo. And then they lost against Germany, having led in that match and possibly deserved to win it, but were caught out right at the end before Nicola Pepe scored both of the goals against Curaçao to ease them through. And Norway winning their first two games allowed them the liberty of making 10 changes against the French. But Frank Kessie looking to build on this near side now for Ivory Coast, the captain, an Asian champion, along with Ivan Toney at Al Ahly in Saudi Arabia this season. Thrown in towards Pepe, and now Kessie again. And it's wide towards Pepe on this right-hand side. The high cross towards the far post, and challenging for it in the air was Jan Diamande, but he rather got under it. Sorloth will clear, but it's not the greatest clearance. Straight to Ula, the youngster, and now Kessie alongside him in midfield. Guido Doué, of course, his brother Desiree plays for France. And Ivory Coast looking to build now. Diamande plays it wide to the far side. Conan with the cross into the penalty area, and it's lifted away by Muller-Wolf, but now Pepe with the opportunity to attack the penalty area down the right. He's quickly challenged. He does have support from Kessie, who is barking out the instructions to give him the ball, which he eventually receives. Doué looking again for Pepe. Good football here from Ivory Coast down the right-hand side. A low ball into the penalty area, heading towards Bonnet. Maybe took a deflection, and in the end, Torbjorn Hegem has to scramble it behind for a corner.
Yeah, it's a really good clearance. Pepe just starting to get into the game now. That in-swinging left foot that he can put in. Oh, he's quite happy to go down the right as well and put it in with his right foot. And Hegem just about gets there, giving away a corner.
8 minutes played, 0-0 in Dallas. And it's a corner kick which Nicolas Pepe will take. The first of the game for Ivory Coast. And Agbadou and Kasunu offer plenty of height inside that 6-yard area. Pepe's delivery high towards the far post, and Kessie was the player who was rising, but he was challenged by Hegem, and it will drift behind for a goal kick.
A decent ball to the far post. It's kind of just inside the 6-yard box, but keeper doesn't come out. The sure sign that that is a good ball that's been put in. Again, almost out-muscled each other, really, didn't they? And they were too busy having a little fight between themselves to actually get a proper connection on the ball. But set pieces when games are tight, we say it all the time, can be very, very important.
18 goals in the 5 games in this stadium so far. Of course, England scored 4 of them in their win against Croatia. Lionel Messi also broke the record for World Cup scoring against Austria. And Australia against Egypt will be the other game at this stage of the World Cup played here. And there'll also be a game in the round of 16 and the semi-finals. A long ball played forward for Norway towards the right, and they've always got the outlet of Sorloth to try and divert the ball in field, which is what he does, but it's won back by Doué for the Ivory Coast, and now Kasunu on this near side, back in field to Nottingham Forest's Ibrahim Sangare. He will try and hold things together and give the platform for Kessie. Now Kessie plays it forward, looking for Bonnet, but it's guided back by Ayer towards Neeland, who takes no chances and hammers the ball downfield. It's Sangare with a back header towards the far side, and it will be gathered by Agbadou. We played 10 minutes here, and it's Ivory Coast 0, Norway 0, and the Ivorians are giving the ball away. Nusa forward towards Ødegaard. Haaland was peeling away to the left, looking to pull the trigger, but it was cut out by Kasunu, and he will clear up towards the halfway line, and Pepe down the right. Pepe was caught late there, and in the end the referee has given the free kick, and that's good officiating by Jesus Valenzuela, because he just looked to see where the advantage came for the Ivorians. None was forthcoming, so they head back and get the free kick.
Yeah, it's a lot of physicality in this game already, isn't it? You're trying to, in the battle, the duels, the 1v1, trying to get one over early on your opponent, whether that's I'm quicker than you, I'm stronger than you, I can go past you, or you can't go past me. Really fascinating battle without there being too many attempts at goal.
Ulai on the far side for Ivory Coast, and now Sangare. And he's got the outlet of Doué forward again from right back. Pepe coming deep. And they need to ensure that Bonnet doesn't get too isolated. Diomande coming in field to try and offset that. And now Agbadou again. And Ulai, the 20-year-old, seeing plenty of the ball, and he scoops it wide towards the far side. And Conan in field to Diomande. And then Ulai with the ball forward down the channel left-hand side, looking for Bonnet, but it's overhit and straight out of play.
It's actually really good defending for Norway without the ball. It wasn't as if they necessarily got tight on the ball, but the two centre-halves were making sure that Bonnet couldn't go anywhere, and as he's looking up to try and play that pass in behind the Norwegian defence, there was no space. So in the end he's played it in a place where even Bonnet couldn't get anywhere near it.
Of course, South Africa have already gone out at this stage to Canada, but Morocco, with that victory yesterday, merited as well on penalties to go through against the Netherlands. Only Tunisia of the 10 African teams here didn't qualify for the round of 32, as Sorloth comes forward now, but an excellent challenge from Ulai on the far side, coming in from behind, but won it cleanly. And Ivory Coast, one thing you could say about them, they've got Diomande, but if they can't find him quickly, there's not a huge amount of pace.
No, there isn't. But they do work hard, both individually and as a team.
Now Bonnet found down the centre, but the ball just trickles away from him. He was under pressure from Ayer, and the first touch allows Neeland to gather.
And that was a lovely ball into Bonnet as well. And while it was a difficult one to break down, because the two centre-halves clearly are, talking to Perry earlier about the communication of the Ivory Coast two centre-halves, well, you can clearly see that the Norwegian two centre-halves have got that as well. So when you can get the ball over one and to the feet of your striker, your striker Bonnet has to bring the ball down. The first touch has to be better.
13 minutes played, 0-0. 10 o'clock kick-off this evening. France against Sweden, and Kevin Hatchard and Tony Cascarino will bring you that game live on Talk Sport. And then Natalie Sawyer live from the Azteca in Mexico City. Mexico against Ecuador with Joe Shannon and Mark McGee. And of course all day tomorrow on the Talk Sport network we'll be building up to England against DRC, live from Atlanta, 5 o'clock kickoff with Adrian Durham and the team. And that will be followed by Belgium against Senegal in Seattle with Ian Danta and Alvin Martin. That game will be over on TalkSport 2 as we assess the fallout of the England game. As Diomande comes forward now on the far side. Was he dragged down by Pedersen? Well, he's quickly back to his feet, Diomande. And the challenge is made by Ayer on the far side, and it will be a corner kick. And we're seeing there very quickly the value of Jan Diomande to this Ivorian team.
Yeah, absolutely. And Marcus Pedersen has such a crucial role in this game. When Jan Diomande, the top clubs of Europe want him, it might be the question of sometimes, yes, I can deal with it 1v1. Other times I need help. Or you make sure you sit in front of him and he doesn't receive the ball, because he can hurt good defenders.
Corner kick for Ivory Coast once again. Diomande with the in-swinger towards Kesse, but it's headed away by Sorloth towards the halfway line. And now wide on this near side again. Ivory Coast will try and build the cross into the area, gathered by Diomande at the far post, but it was bouncing up as he tried to control, and I think it ricocheted off his shoulder and goes behind for a goal kick.
Well, 15 minutes gone. We said it's 50-50, and it's exactly what it is in terms of possession, shots off target and on target. We've not had one yet, but with a good start for Norway, Ivory Coast getting back into the game again. This might be one of those where there's lots of goals and it's end-to-end in the second half, or it might be one of those where the first goal wins it.
And it's significant, talking about Jan Diomande, that Marcus Pedersen has come into the side today, and Julian Ryerson, who has been the regular right back, the Dortmund right back, fine player, he's on the bench today. So maybe Ståle Solbakken has seen something there and has looked to rectify it.
We clearly must think that Pedersen is the better defender, the better at one-on-one, because talked about it, everyone's talking about it. Jan Diomande is an absolute superstar in the making.
Only Pau Kabasi of Spain has played more minutes as a teenager in this World Cup so far. Sorloth on the far side, he's robbed by Diomande. Well, Sorloth is significantly larger than him, but he bounced off him.
The saying of a good big and beats a good little is not always true. Diomande very strong as well as very skillful.
It's back with Yaya Fofana, one of a number of Parisian-born players in this Ivorian team, plays his club football in Turkey. And Kasunu will go back to his goalkeeper again. And I know we have this obsession about how many touches Erling Haaland has in the game, but so far it's not too many. Now Diomande cutting inside again from the left-hand side for Ivory Coast, and plays a good ball wide to the right, where there's space and time here for Pepe to try and attack the penalty area. Further on towards Doué, who was onside. Pepe again works the 1-2 with Kesse deep into the area. Does he run out of room? He does, and it's gone behind for a goal kick, but it was good movement again from Ivory Coast.
Yeah, I didn't think that went out, and I don't think Pepe thought it went out, but when he had the ball and Doué made the run, he should have turned, and he didn't. He turned back out away from goal, and it allowed Norway to again set themselves, but also Pepe himself has got to say turn or over and make him let that ball go. When you play to a fullback in the box, sometimes he does not always aware of what's around him, so when you pass him the ball, it's all very well, fullbacks going inverted or even overlapping. They've got to know what's around them, and it's half an opportunity missed there.
We mentioned Erling Haaland. This is 62nd game of the season for club and country today. In his first appearance of the season, he scored twice against Wolves, and he was marked by Emmanuel Agbadou, who was at the heart of the Ivorian defence today, although he's since moved on to Besiktas.
But he won't forget it.
No.
And maybe neither will Erling Haaland as well.
Neeland wide to the far side, and Ayer. 18 and a half minutes played here on TalkSport, the round of 32 at the 2026 World Cup. It's 0-0. Norway have had more of the ball so far, but what invention there has been has really come from Ivory Coast.
Yeah, it's been tight in terms of possession, marginal, but Norway have had a little bit more. But you're absolutely right, the Ivory Coast already, just in the first 20 minutes, just look a little bit more dangerous. Erling Haaland, you say, about a few touches, not had many.
Now it's played forward towards the edge of the penalty area. Sorloth gathers wide towards Wolf, and he fizzed that ball into the area, but it was blocked at the near post by Douay, and the decision has gone the Ivory Coast way.
Well, it's the first time really that Norway have got into the box and got them, well, second time after the header, of course, Erling Haaland. And I just felt that Sorloth didn't quite play it in the ball where he was able to get that cross in Wolf without a good defending, able to get back and get himself in the right place to stop that cross. Erling Haaland nearly getting on the end of it though, but wasn't too much movement for him there.
Agbadou plays it forward towards Ulay on the halfway line, and now Conan into the danger man, Diomande, and Sorloth has come back to help out Pedersen, infield to Kessie, and Diomande again, and it's a good ball wide towards the far side of Ulay. Bonnet waits in the centre on the overlap. Conan now into the penalty area, shoots for the near post, and it's just wide. Better options than that.
Well, it's actually brilliant play from Conan, the left back, because he could see as they were building up that there could be an overload down the left hand side. Sorloth is a very honest player, and he's taken one for the team by playing that kind of wide right player, but he's not necessarily a natural defensive player. And again, we talk about communication. Pedersen didn't talk to him to go with that run, and then suddenly 5 seconds later, two little passes, and it's a 2v1 situation. Conan looks like he's going to whip it across. Pedersen goes to try and stop that. He then cuts inside, and once you cut inside, you either try and fizz the ball across the box or you aim for that far post. He shot, it didn't even reach the near post, so a real wasted opportunity there, but good play from the Ivory Coast. Poor defending for Norway.
Ødegaard brings it forward now for Norway over the halfway line, but again he has to check back because there is not a huge amount ahead of him, and Ivory Coast are very well organised defensively here. Now Antonio Nusa of Leipzig, of course he plays on the other wing than Jan Diomande at club level. Two players who helped Leipzig to a very good season in the Bundesliga. Now Ayer again, and Norway at times are having to drop this game to walking pace. Hegem finding Berg, and it's very difficult for them to find the space to create the opportunities for Erling Haaland here, because Nusa has been closely watched and Sorloth has got to be wary of the threat of Diomande going back the other way.
Yeah, it's not that high press, so they're letting them come to the halfway line, and then it's almost a 4-4-2 without the ball, which means that someone's not able, one of the centre half, to really push on. They're being stopped, and just good man-to-man marking.
Now Nusa challenged by Douay, and the ball spins behind for a Norwegian corner kick here. Their first of the game, with 22 minutes played on TalkSport. 0-0 in Dallas. And Patrick Berg, who had such a good season in the Champions League for Bodo Glimt, he will take the corner kick. Haaland has had one touch so far, and that was the header, which was blocked by Kasunu. Berg with the delivery, guided away by Bonny at the near post. Oh, there's confusion there, and was that a foul? It was a foul, and it was a clever break forward by the Ivory Coast, and Nusa allowed the ball to run. Diomande nipped in, and he collided with Wolf, and there were players back for Norway, but it was a challenge born of confusion, but Diomande certainly felt that.
Yeah, I mean, well done to Diomande for sensing that. You could see that Musa was wanting Wolf to come. It wasn't quite there. He could have passed it back to him. Both of them dillied and dallied. Diomande got in there, and he was taken out. Yeah, I mean, not only is it foul, he should have got a yellow card there.
No yellow card shown by Jesus Valenzuela. Well, you know it's the hydration break. You can tell by the noise around the stadium. An indoor stadium, air-conditioned, and now we have the hydration break. At the midpoint of the first half, Ivory Coast 0, Norway 0, and it's been as tight as many people anticipated, but will Ivory Coast be slightly the happier?
Yeah, I think so. They're quite happy. You know, don't be fooled by the possession stats, because Ivory Coast are quite happy to be without the ball. Well, yeah, come on to us. You're going to try and thread it through. No, we'll nick it, whether it's us being clever positionally or just being really physical, and then we'll try and counter-attack very quickly. Diamandi's come into the game a little bit more. He's looked sharp. Bonnet, the ball has been up to him, but he's not quite been able to keep it. Just not really had that major chance. You could argue the best chance so far of the game was the header from Erling Haaland, who should have done better with it. Could even have brought it down chest volley and had a strike. Poor header in the end, but yeah, I think slightly, just slightly, Ivory Coast to be happier.
Some breaking news on TalkSport. Coventry City have confirmed Frank Lampard has signed a new deal, keeping him at the club until 2029. Don't forget, Coventry's first game back in the Premier League right here on TalkSport, 8 o'clock on Friday the 21st of August. Good news for Coventry.
Feels right, doesn't it? The job that Frank's done there, nothing short of sensational, and it feels right he's given the chance to... Well, he's given the club a chance. I just hope he's going to be given some money to spend, because we've seen many clubs, that Sunderland have been superb, of course, the exception, but many clubs have gone up and come straight back down. So let's hope that they can, certainly he can be given the opportunity to keep them up.
So good news for Coventry fans. Frank Lampard with a new deal, and it does give, I suppose, both sides, if that's the right term, the manager and the club, security as well.
Absolutely.
And if you're looking to sign players,
yes,
players want to see that, don't they?
Of course they do. They want to, first of all, you want stability, but also if you see someone like Frank Lampard, you know, you want to play for him, and not just the player, but the person. You know, the man manager as well as the coach and manager. He pretty much ticks everything in my opinion. He just needs the right circumstances now, and again, I repeat, I hope Coventry give him the platform to go on and perform.
We'll be focusing on another former Chelsea manager, Graham Potter, at 10 o'clock here on TalkSport. Sweden taking on France. Hugh Woozencroft in the chair, Kevin Hatchard and Tony Cascarino on the commentary, and then we're live from the Azteca Stadium from midnight 30. Natalie Sawyer, Joe Shannon and Mark McGee will bring you Mexico against Ecuador, and then of course it's England in Atlanta against DRC, 5 o'clock tomorrow, live on TalkSport. 26 minutes played here, we're back underway, 0-0. Home of the Dallas Cowboys. Ivory Coast and Norway have been very watchful of each other's qualities so far, as the Ivorians go long, and it's gathered by Diamande on the far side, but he's quickly closed down by Berger, and I think the ball may have squeezed out of play there. Indeed it did, and it's a throw-in for Ivory Coast down their left, midway inside the Norwegian half. And they are just getting the ball to Diamande a bit more, and I'm not sure that ball did go out.
I didn't think it was. The whole of the ball needs to go out. Basic stuff, but it wasn't in a really dangerous position.
And the Ivorians go all the way back to Fofana, their goalkeeper anyway. Play forward wide to the far side. You can hear the Viking clap of the Norwegian supporters echoing around the stadium as Cassie comes forward now for Ivory Coast, and Diamande's got some room here to work down the left-hand side. Pedersen has gone across. Diamande will look to tease, clips the high ball in towards Pepe, who delivered an excellent ball into the 6-yard area, but Bonnet have pulled out to the penalty spot, so as a result I was able to scramble the ball behind for a corner.
Well, again, we've talked about the talent of Diamande, and I'm thinking to myself, why is Pedersen allowing himself to have a one-on-one situation? And because he's so worried about him, he's not getting tight. He's allowing the cross to come in, and Nicolas Pepe should do better. It's on his right foot, but he's got the other side of Mollewolf, and it's sort of 6 yards out to the side, yes, but you've got to hit the target there.
Pepe will deliver this ball in. Another possibility for the Ivory Coast. Pepe's corner, headed away as far as Diamande. He clips it back out wide to the right, and Pepe again, who stayed onside. High cross towards the far post. They've got a man over again. It's Kessie, but he's beaten by the bounce of the ball, and it spins over his head and up and away for a goal kick.
Well, Norway need to sort this out. Need to stop the crosses. They didn't. Pedersen didn't stop it. And just Patrick Berg got close there, or he didn't get close and allowed the cross to come in. And there was actually an extra man at the far post. If he'd have read it properly, then he might have been able to bring it down and have a shot on goal.
29 minutes played on TalkSport. 0-0 in Dallas between Ivory Coast and Norway. Brazil await the winners. Nusa coming forward now for Norway, cuts in field from the left-hand side, but plenty of orange shirts around him. But now Ødegaard in the central area, 20 yards out, almost squeezed through towards Berg. Nusa tries to take over, but it's Kessie who brings the ball away, and he quickly transfers it wide to this near side. And Pepe over the halfway line for Ivory Coast. Bonny is ahead of him. He's got Diomande away on the far side. The high ball is up towards the far side, and again Pedersen knew that Diomande was somewhere in the vicinity, but wasn't quite sure where. So he heads it behind for a corner.
Well, I'll tell you what, both the wingers on either side of Ivory Coast, Diomande and Pepe, know they've got the beating of their fullbacks. Great play from Pepe there. Well, Wolf was kind of showing him down the outside, so he said, right, okay, fine, I'll go down the outside. Flipped and flicked a great little ball to the far post, and someone's got to get on the end and read it. And Pepe throwing his hands in the air, thinking exactly the same thing.
Diomande's corner into the near post, and Bonny was challenging, but he was beaten to it by Aya, and it will be another corner kick. Aya just taking a moment here, maybe got a whack on the side of the head, but I think he looks angry at the way his team are trying to defend here, or not defend. Diomande will try again here. Once again it's the in-swinger towards the near post. Haaland rising to head the ball away, straight back to Diomande on the left-hand side. Short towards Ulai, works the 1-2, but Nusa briefly wins it back. But here is Pepe now, and he and Diomande, in fact it was Ulai on the far side, rather got in each other's way, and it bobbles behind for a goal kick. But a decent spell of pressure there for Ivory Coast.
Yeah, I think from probably 5-6 minutes before the hydration break, and quite often the hydration break in the World Cup has stopped momentum of the team that's been on the top and allowed the other team to get back into it. But I think Ivory Coast have just continued that momentum and perhaps stepped it up even more as well. A couple of great opportunities, some balls in the box. The next stage is right now, can you actually get a shot on target? Because we haven't had one from either side yet.
Well, Ivory Coast have really looked troubled so far. They didn't concede a single goal during the qualification. They were matched by Tunisia and England across the entire World Cup qualification. And they're up against the side that scored more goals than anybody else. And Haaland got 16 of them as he nods it down wide to Sorloth on the far side. And now Berger in the centre circle as Norway look to get something cooking here. Wide to Moller Wolf. But all they can do is come back inside and go backwards, because Ivory Coast extremely well disciplined, and Kessie is the player who always comes out to engage because he knows he's got Sangare behind him.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, and you see it a lot in Europe, in the Champions League, Europa League, teams without the ball, like 4-4-2. I've seen Brazil, they do it under Carlo Ancelotti. It's not an easy thing to break down. Some say it's old school, but no, with that second striker up there, they don't allow the defenders to put the ball where they want to.
Nusa clips it wide to the far side, and Sorloth, but he's quickly closed down by Conan, and now Diomande on the counter-attack, streaking forward down the left-hand side. Bonnet ahead of him inside the penalty area, but he shows too much of that to Hegem, and the former West Bromwich Albion defender hooks it behind for another corner kick. Corner number 6 for the Ivory Coast.
Well, I mean, it's poor play from Sorloth. He's lost it there. He's tried to get back. Pedersen's looked like he's trying to go around the outside. So Diomande, he's now chasing Diomande. That's not an easy thing to do. But again, as the ball goes into Bonnet, and if it's not Aya, it's Hegem who is getting tight, but the first touch has to be better. I think without the ball, Ivory Coast have been superb. I think for the first 2/3, they're superb. The final third, not able to get themselves in a position to actually shoot on target and score.
Diomande, low corner this time towards Bonnet, who flicks it on at the near post. It comes back out towards Bonnet. Now square to Ulai, right hand side of the penalty area. He's forced wide, he's got support from Kasunu. Ulai seems to lose his bearings there for a moment, almost runs it out of play, but he maintains possession. And now Kasunu forward towards Kessie, who shrugs off the challenge, and the cross into the near post is quickly closed down by Berg, and it will be another corner kick taken quickly by Kessie. Short towards Ulai, back towards Kessie again. Norway not quite organised here. The ball into the area, headed away by Haaland inside the 6-yard box, and Ulai really skies a volley up into the air and down into the arms of the gloves of Ole Nyland.
No, he shouldn't really be shooting from there. The ball's bouncing. He's having to try and turn it on his body and volley it from 25 yards out. The unbelievable technique to get it on target, let alone to score from there. And don't allow Norway just to have a bit of a breather. Talked about how in the last 10 minutes or so, Ivory Coast have been really good and they've cranked it up physically and the intensity. And at the moment, Norway are just about hanging on, but they're certainly not in control of this game.
It's back to Nyland again. Former Aston Villa goalkeeper, although plenty of water has flowed under the bridge for both he and the club since. Only started 5 games for Sevilla last season. Conan will take a throw-in on the far side for Ivory Coast, and we saw Styler Solbakken emerge from the dugout a few moments ago. Look of concern on his face as Doué plays it forward on this near side for Ivory Coast, and in the end he closes down Berger, and it will be a goal kick for Norway. And Solbakken played the last time Norway were in the World Cup back in 1998 when they drew with Scotland in France and in the end lost out to Italy in Marseille, having beaten Brazil in the group stage.
Well, Norway actually have a great record against Brazil, don't they?
Yeah.
For some reason.
Well, it would be, well, either of these sides against Brazil would be a fascinating game in the round of 16.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure Brazil would necessarily relish the physical challenge offered by both.
No, I totally agree. And I just think because Ivory Coast are defending so well, talked about how good we know the talent, the world-class talent that Martin Odegaard has, and he's not really been able to get in the game. He's dropped off at times, but now he's in a good position.
Odegaard finding a pocket of space midway inside the Ivory Coast half, wide towards Sorloth, who will try and take on Conan. He's gone beyond him, delivers the cross in. Haaland waiting with a header, but he rather got over it. It bounced into the ground and up into the arms of Fofana.
Well, Sorloth does really well there, and I mean, as a left back, I used to love playing against strikers who would play as a right winger, because they can't really do it. They don't know the role. They're not really particularly skillful or overly quick. So Conan shouldn't allow that cross to come in. And Sorloth did well by getting to the byline, putting it in, but still, like the first one with Erling Haaland, he's 12, almost 15 yards away from goal. And because it's an outswinger as well, he's having to generate the power as well as the precision. It's not an easy thing to do.
No, there was plenty of air in the cross. And really, Haaland needed somebody around him to try and nod the ball down too, but you can understand why he went for goal in the circumstances. Ivory Coast work it wide to this near side, and Pepe, this is their first World Cup since 2014. Now Pepe with a long ball forward looking for Bonnet, challenged by Aya, but Bonnet will pick the ball up on the edge of the penalty area, and eventually, weight of numbers, Aya and Hegem clear the ball away, but then Aya has a right go at Hegem for what happened initially. But a break over the halfway line now for Norway with Berg down the left hand side, under pressure. He pokes it infield to Nusa. Nusa's got some pace and some room here. Odegaard 25 yards out onto the left foot, strikes it low, but it's blocked by Ulai, who gives a little fist pump there to celebrate preventing that shot on target. Now Sorloth again, the former Crystal Palace man on the far side. Odegaard back towards Berger. 7 minutes to play in the first half on TalkSport, 0-0. We'll be back to Jeff and Perry during half-time. Odegaard forced back towards the halfway line by Sangada. Now he's managed to thread the pass through to Berger, who got forward. He ushers Moller Wolf to try and overlap with Nusa down the left-hand side, and now Nusa will play it back towards Berg. And here is Odegaard again in the central area, looking for movement, wide towards Musa down the left-hand side. Nusa comes in field, goes for the Gala! Brilliant goal! Antonio Nusa for Norway. And such a tight game is broken open by a moment of genius from the Leipzig winger. seemed to be so little on, but he created the room and then executed a perfect curling shot. Yahya Bafana had no chance at all, and with 6 minutes to play in the first half, it's Ivory Coast 0, Norway 1.
Well, that is what he's capable of. We're all talking about Jan Diamande, but it's his club teammate who's showing exactly on the left-hand side what he can do. Mentioned about Martin Odegaard not really getting into the game, and I think at the hydration break, he was always dropping off and being far too deep. I think his manager told him in that break, get further forwards even if you have fewer touches. All he did was a simple ball out wide, but because he was able to do that and reasonably early, it gave Musa the chance to run at his fullback, show a great bit of skill, cut inside, and that is a wonder shot that no keeper is stopping. I have to say, great bit of play from him, out of nothing and against the run of play. But that's the difference that these star players can make.
And Norway lead with 5 minutes to play in the first half, and Kusunu overhits the crossfield ball there looking for Agbadou, and it's straight out of play for a throw-in to Norway, and Ivory Coast need to just regroup here and ensure it doesn't get worse before half-time. Norway a side who had won 12 successive competitive games before that loss against the French, with what was basically a second team as far as this squad is concerned. And Nusa scoring his 9th goal in his 28th appearance for Norway, scored in both of the emphatic victories against Italy in the qualifiers, and now comes up with one when it really matters as Pedersen looks to go beyond Agbadou on the far side, and Norway really buzzing at the moment. Ødegaard's cross in, high to the far post, Sorloth knocks it down, Haaland is there, and he's unable to get the shot on target, and it's bundled behind for a corner, and that's the sort of link-up between Sorloth and Haaland that Norway are looking for, but Haaland was denied there by some excellent defending inside the 6-yard area from Agbadou.
Do you know what? That is absolutely brilliant defending. And I think in the end it's Sangare has just got across as Erling Haaland's free. I mean, he didn't get a good strike on it. He shouldn't have allowed him to make the block. There's a massive few minutes for Ivory Coast that cannot afford to concede a second goal.
First time they've trailed at this World Cup. Berg with the corner, high into the penalty area, glanced on towards the far post by Sorloth, and there were 2 Norwegian players waiting and neither could apply the finish.
Well, do you know what? It's a wonderful in-swing and ball in. Keeper can't get there. Sorloth's running. He just gets the nod down. And there's 2 Norwegian players, one of them being that man Erling Haaland, that will be kicking himself. He somehow missed that one. I mean, I'm not going to have a go at him, but how can he not read that? Because that's what he is all about. The ball in, little flick on, be there at the far post, and it would have been a simple tap in. But in the end, it's just gone in between the Norwegian players and the post, and Ivory Coast breathe again.
2.5 minutes of normal time to play. We'll have some added time for the hydration break as Ivory Coast just bang it long downfield all the way through to Neeland.
Do you know what? The question Jeff asked me about, African nations, and you can talk about Ivory Coast. They should have beaten Germany, and it was that kind of that wily know-how, game management of finding a way that Germany had. Ivory Coast were the better side, and here now they've been the better side. They've conceded that early goal, and I won't say their head's gone, but they're losing the ball a lot. They've got to just compose themselves.
Well, Norway have given the ball away here. Bonnet looking to break forward. Diamande may get in on the edge of the penalty area, but it was an excellent challenge from Maya to deny him. But here is Ulai. Kesse plays it wide towards Conan. Conan breaks into the penalty area on the left-hand side, fires in the cross, which is deflected behind, and it will be a corner, and it was Norway's turn to give the ball away there, and it nearly cost them.
Yeah, and Conan did well. You can see he's a really good left back, it's decent one-to-one in the defending, but loves to get forward as well. He got forward in that situation. Again, good defending from Norway though. So again, it's a massive opportunity for Ivory Coast just on half-time.
Diamande will swing the corner in towards that far post. Neeland will fist the ball clear, way outside the penalty area, all the way back out wide towards Conan, who transfers it to Diamande again on the left, quickly into the penalty area for Kesse. Kesse will try and loft it in under pressure from Haaland, and both sets of players claim the decision. And in the end, a corner kick has been given, I think. Well, Pepe has come across to take this. Of course, they will just give it a check, and Pepe will deliver the corner kick. And Jesus Valenzuela, the referee, just telling one or two players to calm down inside the 6-yard area. Pepe with the corner, headed away by Haaland, and then a player goes down. Diamande at the far post, was it? Well, there were appeals there. I think it was Agbadou who went down, and he crumpled to the turf, and there was an appeal, but Norway cleared the ball away on the far side.
Well, I don't know if I want to see a replay of that, because that seemed to me one of the worst dives ever. There's a slight bit of touch, there's a little bit of a tug on the shirt. There's no way that's enough for him to go down and create a penalty.
We're into a minimum of 4 more minutes. Our Chilean VAR official will just have a look, and then players waved on, and we've seen very few instances like that lead to penalties during this World Cup. Bonny coming forward now for Ivory Coast. Wide to this near side, and Doué was certainly caught there by Nusa, and the goal scorer will get the game's first yellow card.
Well, I've seen worse tackles in the game. I think it's more just the intent. Both of them running one way. Doué stops really quickly, and he's got nowhere near the ball as he moves up. It's not the hardest of tackles, but he's definitely, you're not getting past me. You may get the ball past me, but you ain't coming.
So Nusa is on a yellow card. Of course, Japan scored first yesterday, and they lost. Netherlands scored first, and they lost on penalties. So the game is not over.
You're saying they meant to concede that then?
Not at all, but of course Paraguay scored first and had to win on penalties in the end, but just shows that it's been an unpredictable World Cup in so many ways. Absolutely. So far. Pepe's delivery from the free kick, headed down and just wide. It was Agbadou who rose at the far post. One or two Ivorians saying there was a deflection, but I'm not sure there was. Well, there was, in fact, fairness to him.
Yeah, actually, because Sola didn't win the header, but he got the final touch. So actually, it was a corner.
A yellow card has been issued to Norway player number 20, Antonio Nusa.
Well, Ivory Coast, after a rocky couple of minutes, have come back into this game now, and the Norway fans with unison rowing all around the stadium, enjoying themselves with 2 minutes of added time to play in the first half, and Norway leading Ivory Coast by 1-0. And the Norwegians have a throw-in on the far side, and in scoring that goal, Antonio Nusa becomes Norway's youngest ever scorer at a major tournament, and before this one they'd never scored too many, but that's their 9th goal in this World Cup after only 7 in their previous 8 games. They were a bit dour when they previously qualified for tournaments, but this is a team which is capable of playing in several different ways, and they will be a threat for Brazil and maybe even England. We'll have to wait and see. England have got some bad memories of playing Norway around World Cups. Fofana clears the ball away. It wasn't even in the World Cup, it was in the qualifiers.
Yeah. Maggie Thatcher.
Of course, yes.
Winston Churchill.
I forgot about that one, yes. I was remembering more Lee Sharp playing as a wing-back.
Well, that as well. That guy knew that Jason Cundy was going to do that, so
yes,
he got it in first. Decades before.
Well, that was 1981 when Norway beat England and almost stopped them qualifying for the Spain World Cup.
That's right.
Anyway, we'll have to wait and see what happens in the remainder of this game, and of course elsewhere in the remainder of the competition, as Berg wins it back for Norway, closing seconds of the first half here. Norway leading by 1-0, and they've got the opportunity now to get 15 minutes for Ståle Solbakken to really get them organised for the second half. And there goes the whistle. Antonio Nusa with An excellent goal to open the scoring 4 minutes before the break. Ivory Coast had the better of the opportunities before then, but in the battle of the Leipzig wingers, so far, Nusa has outshone Diomande, and it's Ivory Coast 0, Norway 1. Thank you, Jeff. And by assisting that goal, Martin Ødegaard is the first player to assist in his opening 3 World Cup games since Michael Ballack in 2002. Although, of course, assists didn't used to be a thing back in the day, as Norway all huddle around the centre circle before the start of the second half. Plenty of empty seats around the AT&T Stadium, with people still downstairs getting their half-time refreshments. But Scott Minto, I would think Norway would believe now that the game's not won at 1-0, clearly, but maybe they've seen what the Ivory Coast have to offer.
Yeah, but I do think if Ivory Coast are a little bit more clinical, have a little bit more quality in that final third, and Bonnet actually gets hold of the ball as well, I genuinely think that they're one moment away from being back in this game. And we said this could go all the way, didn't we, before the match? It still can, but there's no doubt that Norway are in control, being 1-up.
And they get the game back underway, defending the goal away to our left, wearing all white. Ivory Coast in all orange here today. The two teams once again, Ivory Coast, Fofana in goal, Doué, Kasunu, Agbadou and Cone in the back four, Sangare holding in midfield behind Pepe, Kessie, Ulai and Diomande, with Bonnet leading the attack. Norway, Neeland in goal, Pedersen, Ayer, Hegem and Moller Wolf, Ødegaard, Berger and Berg, Sorlot, Haaland and Nusa, the goal scorer, and also the only player booked in the first half as well. They do have options on the bench, Ivory Coast, notably Amad Diallo, who was left out for this game to accommodate an extra player in midfield, creased in our Ulai. Bonnet at times has found himself isolated, so that's something they'll possibly need to address the longer this game goes on, as Doué plays an interesting ball back towards his own penalty area, but Conan is quick enough to get there and does well to find Diomande on this near side. He slips though, but he was just given a shove there as he looked to go around Pedersen, and it will be a free kick for Ivory Coast in their left back area. And Sangare will go all the way back to Kasunu, and wide to Pepe on the far side. Now Doué in towards Bonnet on the halfway line, under pressure from Hegem, and in the end Bonnet has given the ball away to Haaland, and it was almost an opportunity there for Berg to break forward from midfield, but Ivory Coast will clear, and now Pedersen will lay it back towards Neeland. He's closed down by Diomande, and that clearance wasn't too far away from striking the Ivorian winger, and in the end it's a piece of untidy play, and it's out of play on this near side for a Norway throw-in.
Yeah, just got to be careful, Norway, haven't they? You know, they are in the lead, they are to a point in control, but we do feel that Ivory Coast, well, Norway struggled with them at times. So as long as they keep up that intensity, the same tactics as well, Ivory Coast very much in this game. Norway cannot afford to make a silly mistake like that and concede and go 1-1.
Now Kasunu wide to this near side, and Agbadou, the former Wolves defender, he's got support from Conan. Agbadou again will have to go all the way back to Kasunu. Nearly 3 minutes played in the second half. World Cup Game Day Live on TalkSport. Ivory Coast 0, Norway 1. Antonio Nusa with the only goal so far. And it's Norway's turn to just bottle up all the opportunities, as Ivory Coast were doing for much of the first half.
Yeah, and that's the thing that sort of first goal does for you. It doesn't mean, as we've seen already in the World Cup knockout matches, you score the first goal, you're going to go on and win it, but it does mean you can control the tempo of the game to how you want to, and Norway just sitting back in the way that Ivory Coast did in the first half.
Diomande wide towards Conan now, crossing from the left hand side. Bonnie was the only target, it's beyond him, but gathered now by Pepe. He can step into the penalty area, goes on the outside, then comes back, may need some support, has it from Doué, the cross into the near post, and it was spilled by Haaland. He did well to get a touch on it in the end, and it comes out towards Conan on this near side. Now Diamande threads it low into the penalty area, and it was Pepe looking to win it back, but he was closed down by Berg, and it's gone behind for a corner.
Do you know what? That's actually really good play down the right-hand side by Ivory Coast. As Nicola Pepe gets the ball, goes one way and the other, but then draws two players over, so that means that Doué's free, and he whips the ball. We're thinking he's going to dink it to the far post, but he whips it across the face of the 6-yard box, and again, someone's just got to read that and gamble, and in the end, it would have been a simple direct the ball on goal, and Neelan would have had no chance.
Diamande will take the corner kick. Jesus Valenzuela, the referee, is having extended words with a group of players inside the penalty area. Now comes across to this near side and tells Diamande to move the ball to make sure it's back in the quadrant. Diamande does that in exaggerated fashion. Now the corner played into that near post, and after all of that, it's nodded away at the near post by Sorloth. Hammered up in the air by Conan towards the edge of the penalty area. Akbadou was challenging, but Norway will clear it. It's all the way downfield to Fofana, the Ivorian goalkeeper, who had very little to do in the first half, beaten by an excellent goal. And now Ulai again, and there's an overload for Ivory Coast if they can work this down the right-hand side. Doué and Pepe. Doué brings it down. The cross into the area is flicked on by Kessie, looking for Bonnet. Kessie unable to control under pressure from Odegaard inside the area. Sorloth will play the ball away, but in the end, players been brought back to the Norwegian penalty area, and Frank Kessie's been penalised for handball.
That was a nice little touch from Doué. Very extravagant. Not really one you need to be doing when you're 1-0 down. But they've tried to be on the front foot. Again, Norway being very clever about this as well, making themselves difficult to break down in the way that Ivory Coast did in the first 20-30 minutes themselves.
Both these sides looking to win their first knockout game at a World Cup, of course. Norway played in the round of 16 in 1998, but that was straight after the group stage as Christopher Ayer heads across to this near side to clear the ball away, and it's fielded by a man in a Mexican shirt and a Viking helmet. Ulai with the cross into the penalty area. Again, it's headed away by Hegem. But there's a challenge on this near side on Sorloth from Ulai, and it will be a throw-in for Ivory Coast, who had much of the ball since half-time. Conan now down the left-hand side. He's away from Sorloth, left him standing, whips in the cross, headed away at the far post by Berg. Now brought down by Sangare, who controls and hits it from 25 yards out. And if it was American football, he would have got the extra point comfortably.
Yeah. And do you know what, again, good play from the Ivory Coast left-back Conan, just getting down the left-hand side, getting past Sorloth. I talked about how Sorloth shouldn't really be getting past him in terms of the one-on-one, but actually he can take him the other way and try and take him on defensively, which he got past him. It was a good cross. Patrick Burgess positioned himself in the right place, but then again, the ball comes out, you're 25 yards out, just keep it in there instead of having a shot that ends up being an extra point.
Ståle Solbakken is deep in conversation with his backroom team on the edge of the technical area. Ms. Fai, the Ivorian coach, I wonder if he's pondering one or two options here. He took over in very difficult circumstances midway through the AFCON 3 years ago after Ivory Coast had lost 4-0 to Equatorial Guinea, and they squeezed through as one of the best third place teams and ended up winning the competition. Lost to Egypt in the quarterfinals this year.
Unbelievable that, isn't it? I wonder how many people, when they went 4-0 down in that first game, actually thought, yeah, do you know what, I think they'll win this.
Yeah, included the coach is the problem. Of course, Tunisia tried something similar in this World Cup, but it didn't work. Now Pedersen, under pressure from Diamande on this near side, plays it forward, looking for Sorloth. And now that's loose from the Ivory Coast. Akbadou's clearance is straight to Odegaard. He breaks forward now. He's got Nusa to his left-hand side. Nusa plays it on. The high cross in there is beyond both Haaland and Sorloth. And it's gathered by the goalkeeper Fofana.
Yeah, I just thought Odegaard could have played it a little bit earlier, but because he wasn't sure about the pass, he carried on running. Ivory Coast got a few players back. He still passed to his teammate, and it was a good overlapping run from Wolfer, but because they just were literally about a couple of seconds behind where they should have been, he's trying to dink it to the far post, and both Solot and Erling Haaland have gone to the near post. Missed opportunity.
Pepe on the far side. Infield again to Kesse. And the more experienced players in this Ivorian team maybe need to take centre stage here. There's been plenty of talk about the youngsters, but they need to drag themselves back into this game. As Ulai plays it wide to Pepe, who's now 31 years of age, looking to take on the fullback, and the cross into the area is blocked. It comes back out to Pepe, and it's a great save by Neelan to deny him at the near post. Now Doué, he's lost out to Nusa, and that's the first time in the game that the Ivory Coast have really opened Norway up.
Yeah, and it's a really good save. I mean, it's one perhaps he should be making because the angle's so tight. But Ivory Coast will certainly take a lot of confidence that they've been able to create an opportunity, get a shot on goal. And Neelan just getting across and making sure it didn't actually become a goal.
And it was Hegem who deflected the ball into the path of Pepe. But Neelan smartly across at the near post. Now Haaland on the left-hand side, infield to Ødegaard. Solot to his right. It's scooped back infield. Appeals for handball against Agbadou, but nothing given, and Sangare will bring it clear here for Ivory Coast. And the referee's taking no nonsense from either side.
No, and we've seen that, haven't we, really throughout the whole World Cup. But I think as this game goes on, I think it's going to get stretched, become very open. Ivory Coast will try and attack. Norway, without the ball, they're quite happy to drop off, but with the ball, they're quite happy to try and exploit the space that Ivory Coast have left. So I can imagine this game really opening up and having a bit of an end-to-end feel to it.
Now Pepe on the far side, the Ivorian right. Pierluigi Collina, FIFA's head of refereeing, is among those watching here today, so no pressure on Jesus Valenzuela. Now Ulai plays it wide to this near side, and Conan, Diomande is inside. Conan with the delivery into the near post. Bonnet was challenging, it drops to Pepe at the near post, who then brings it down and finds Kesse, but his shot on the turn was blocked by Berg, and it bobbles through towards Neelan.
Well, I mean, what Norway are doing is, that was actually a really good touch from Bonnet there in the box, but one of the two centre-halves is always close to him. Patrick Berg's dropping off as well and becoming a bit of a nightmare for the centre-forward.
Ivory Coast looking to build with Berger on the far side. Into Ødegaard. Ødegaard was fouled there on the left point of the Ivorian penalty area, and it will be a free kick for Norway in a very good area.
I mean, Norway are so well organised that you do get the feeling if they were able to get the second goal next, I'm not sure Ivory Coast can come back from that. 1-0, they're always in the game. They've got the ability, they've got the players, the individual talent. They've already shown how they can create an opportunity, but that second goal I think would be really tough against, been really well marshalling the front players of Ivory Coast, the Norwegian defence.
Ødegaard is over the free kick here. Solot and Haaland will be the two primary targets. Ayer is also forward as well. He's now joined by Torbjorn Hegem. And it's going to be flighted in by Ødegaard towards that 6-yard area. Solot challenging, and it nearly bounced into the path of Berger, but it was gathered by Fofana. And he quickly bowls out to find Kesse. Ulai. And now Kesse again down the right-hand side. Pepe is already deep inside the Norwegian half, but it's wide towards Conan. Plenty of room for him down the left now. He will try and break towards the penalty area. Berg has come back with him, and Berg makes the challenge at the expense of an Ivorian corner.
Yeah, again, it's really important from a defensive point of view. Patrick Berg just trying to mop up any problems, but still not sure how that didn't go in. A lot of players missed a wonderful Martin Ødegaard cross, and it actually came off Sander Berg's hand in the end, straight into Fofana's hands.
Corner's played short. Pepe's ball in is blocked, but Pepe gathers once again. Ulai is wide on the left-hand side, supported by Diomande. Scooped forward by Ulai towards Pepe, who nods it down to Diomande. He can now come inside from the left-hand side. Double coverage for him. Back towards Ulai. And now it's played square and fired towards goal by Agbadou. And that's heading towards the hospitality area.
Well, it's another strike from 25, almost 30 yards out, and it's the centre half. So from Norway's point of view, they'll be absolutely delighted with that. Yeah, you make sure you defend your box really well. Don't create any chances. Don't let them create any chances. Don't let Bonnet get close to the ball and get the ability to turn. And if the ball goes out, centre midfield, or especially centre halves, think they can get one in the top corner from 25 yards. Well, you keep trying.
Well, Bonnet's race is run, and it will be a change made by the Ivory Coast, and it's Eliwahi, another player who switched from the French under-21 side just before the World Cup. He has come on now, the Nice attacking midfielder, as it nearly breaks on the edge of the penalty area for Berg for Norway, but it's cleared away. So Bonnet and Ulai have both gone off, and the other player coming on is Amad Diallo of Manchester United. Scored the winning goal in the opening game against Ecuador, and Diallo now gets his opportunity here in the round of 32. Odegaard is penalised on this near side and has words with the assistant. Not too impressed with the decision, but it's a free kick for the Ivory Coast in the left back area, and the goalkeeper Fofana will take it. An hour played on TalkSport. Ivory Coast 0, Norway 1. We've got France against Sweden coming up with Hugh Wozencroft, Kevin Hatchard and Tony Cascarino following this game on TalkSport. 10 o'clock kickoff in New Jersey. And then we're live inside the Azteca Stadium for Mexico against Ecuador with Natalie Sawyer, Joe Shannon and Mark McGee. Now Diomande coming forward on this near side for Ivory Coast, but Odegaard was watchful and makes the challenge inside the area. Now Sorloth, square to Berg. And Mollewolf is forward on the left, and Berg, who's got through a lot of work in this game, now looks to link up with Mollewolf again, but it's a good challenge from Doué. Timed it perfectly to win the ball, and Ivory Coast have it back, and there's a real end-to-end feel about the game now.
Yeah, I thought it might be Ivory Coast really trying to go for it. Norway are not a team that would just say get everyone behind the ball and knock it long. They'll try and attack and get that second goal. Really is starting to open up now.
Diallo, lovely back heel to release Pepe. He can break into the penalty area, pull back to Wahi, but a good challenge from Ayer prevented any hope of a shot on goal, but it's won back by Kasunu. And Ivory Coast have stepped things up here. Wahi's playing as the central striker at the moment, with Diallo slightly deeper as Kessie plays it wide to Pepe. He steps in field onto the left foot. And he just forces Sangare to scamper with the ball back to him. Diomande is also forward on the edge of the penalty area. Sangare does find Diomande. He chops back now onto the left foot, fires in a low ball which is blocked by Hegem at the near post, and it's behind for another Ivory Coast corner.
Yeah, it's unlucky in the end. There's a good little bit of skill, and Ivory Coast are really trying to step it up from a physical and intensity point of view. Can Norway deal with it? They've dealt with it well so far, but definitely Ivory Coast getting close to fifth gear.
Ivory Coast, the youngest squad in this World Cup, and they've thrown on two more young players here. 63 minutes played. Norway lead by a goal to nil in Dallas, and again the referee coming all the way across to this near side to check that Diomande's got the ball in the quadrant.
He's not having it, is he, the ref?
No.
And the last time he did that, Diomande didn't beat the first man.
No. It's a game of inches. Diomande this time. More air on this, high into the area, fisted away by Neelan. Now gathered at the far post, the crossing is dangerous. Haaland is there to head the ball away, and then the volley towards goal from Doué, it's blocked. Half-hearted appeals for a penalty from one or two Ivorian players, but it's cleared away, And Conan now will head it back towards the goalkeeper Fofana, and he had Erling Haaland bearing down on goal, but Fofana kept his nerve and just belts it straight out of play.
Well, about 3.4 seconds ago, Erling Haaland was clearing the ball in his own 6-yard box. A few seconds later, he's making sure that Fofana's under pressure, clearing the ball. I mean, he's got a bit of everything, Erling Haaland. We've seen it for Manchester City do a job for the team. We talk about how he's comfortable. He's not happy, but he's comfortable without not having too many touches. But he's also happy to help out his team in defensive situations.
I think for him, the end justifies the means.
Absolutely. And if you talk about Ivory Coast and centre forwards, then Didier Drogba used to be one of the very best at that.
He was part of the side that qualified for 3 successive World Cups, last in 2014, and of course there was Yaya and Kolo Toure as well. Now the ball high into the area looking for Wahi, but it was gathered well by Neeland, who committed himself but caught the ball.
Do you know what? I think he's got to be braver there. The ball's come in from the right-hand side. The keeper's coming out. Just see if you can get in front of the keeper and get the challenge.
Sorloth now, down this near side, the right. He's challenged by Agbadou. And it will be a throw-in, or rather a corner kick for Norway, with 65 minutes played on TalkSport. Norway still leading by a goal to nil.
And this is what Norway are happy to do as well. Obviously they're on the back foot from a defensive point of view, but they're quite happy to go forward as quickly as possible. Let's go back to Wahi there. Almost just the ball's coming in. Yeah, the keeper's perhaps favourite to get it, but if you come across him, even if you take the ball and it looks like it's going away from goal, he clashes into you. And more often than not, you'd win a penalty. And in the end, he just kind of backed out of it.
Ødegaard will take the corner kick here for Norway, but the referee holds play. And again, the referee having words with Sangare, telling him to stop holding on to Berger. And he also tells Aya to stop holding on to Doué.
Well, both the Ivory Coast defenders have got both their arms across the attackers. It's all very well having one arm there, but having both where you're almost hugging them, that's a foul, it's a penalty.
Ødegaard with the delivery, and it's flicked on and then fired towards goal by Hegeman, somehow blocked on the line. Another escape for Ivory Coast. Kesse now lofts it forward at the other end, looking for the pace of Diallo, but it's cleared away on this near side, and it will be a throw-in for Ivory Coast, and they were almost out of the World Cup there.
Well, that is ridiculous. And Ahmed Diallo, that well-known big centre-half, just puts himself in the right place at the right time. Referee just checking the ball didn't go over the line. I'll tell you what, he may be forward-thinking, but it was certainly defensive-minded there and got himself in the right position. Again, I'll talk about how important that second goal is. That was 2-0 if he wasn't there.
Ivory Coast, though, still within touching distance. Sangare back towards Kusunu, and now Doué, who's been forward a good deal more in the second half, supporting Nicolas Pepe. And of course they've got Wahi on the field now as well, as Pepe squeezes the ball forward towards Wahi, but it's cleared away. Now Nusa will step inside. He's away from 2 challenges, not the third from Kesse, but the referee allows play to continue because Norway are moving forward here. Berg on the left-hand side, Nusa back on his feet, will look to attack here. Doué could have 1 or 2 problems inside the area. The low cross, though, is headed away at the near post by Kusunu, and the flag was up for offside, and I wonder if the referee will come back and show a yellow card here. No, he doesn't. He sends both teams to the technical areas for the hydration break moments after Amad Diallo had produced that goal line clearance.
Yeah, I'm looking at the clock and I'm thinking, when's it coming? Next break in play. Do you know what? It's still only 1-0, but it's a really good game. I thought it might open up in the second half, and that's exactly what's happening. Just want to mention Doué there. Just the ball was played down the side for Musa, and I think Doué felt he could have made the challenge, but it was inside the box. So one thing you don't want to do, obviously, is go to ground inside the box and give away a penalty. So he just stood on his feet. Musa was able to get a cross in, but it wasn't the best of crosses, and they cleared it. And little things like that, the small details where you turn around and say, well, why has he gone to ground? He's given away a penalty. They're leading, but he's tired. He's up against a top striker for sure. But Doué, say, if they go 2-0 down, then they're in big trouble, and I don't see them coming back. So well done to him for staying clever mentally.
still 1-0 to Norway, but that's thanks to Amad Diallo. It was Torbjorn Hegem who guided the ball beyond Fofana, 3 yards out. And Amad Diallo, well, the ball just hit him on the line, but he was there.
No, do you know what, Nigel? I made a career out of that, spin on the post. And then as the ball comes across, you just leave the post and make sure you're in the right way. I don't know why managers almost have given that up now. There's a flick on, Hegem's got in front of his man, it's a goal, it's 2-0. I'm not saying it's game over, but it's very difficult for Ivory Coast to come back. Yeah, it's hit him, but he's read the situation. First of all, well done for the manager for telling him to be on the post. Secondly, well done for himself for realising I'm not just going to stay on the post, I'm going to follow the ball. And yeah, it looks like he didn't know much about it, but he stopped a guaranteed second goal.
Torbjorn Hegem close to his first goal for Norway, but it's still 1-0. We have France against Sweden coming up at 10 o'clock here on TalkSport with Kevin Hatchard and Tony Cascarino, and then live from the Azteca Stadium, Mexico against Ecuador with Joe Shannon and Mark McGee. And of course, 5 o'clock tomorrow, England against DR Congo, live from Atlanta with Adrian Durham and the team. That's followed by Belgium against Senegal, live on TalkSport 2 at 9 o'clock. And some other big games coming up at this stage. USA Bosnia, that's 1 a.m. on Thursday morning. Spain Austria, myself and Scott are doing that game, looking forward to that. 8 o'clock on Thursday night. And then Argentina against Cape Verde, 11 o'clock on Friday evening with Jim and Stuart, the reigning champions against the debutants. And there's going to be at least one change made here by Norway during the hydration break, and there are 2 changes. Oscar Bob, formerly of Manchester City, will come on to replace the goal scorer Antonio Nusa, and Alex Anders Sorloth also makes way for the Benfica player Andreas Skelderlof.
Yeah, looks like Oscar Bob, yeah, not surprising. He'll come on for Sorloth on that right-hand side. Just adding a little bit of ability to go forward on the counter-attack. There's no doubt about it. Ivory Coast have stepped it up, giving absolutely everything, but Norway do look dangerous on the break, and I think they'll look even more dangerous now.
Diamande coming forward. Bob, of course, joining his Fulham teammate Sander Berger on the Norway pitch now, as it's threaded forward towards Conan for Ivory Coast. He hits a shot inside the area that strikes Aya, and Aya really felt that, but he got in the way and did his job. And now Bob on this near side, looked a real talent at Manchester City, but injuries played their part, and of course at that club things can quickly move on as well. But he's part of this Norway team and comes on to win his 24th cap here today.
Yeah, I don't think his Fulham career's really got going, but I agree with you. I think he's a really good player. I think he's incredibly skillful, and on his day almost unplayable. He just needs to find, well, first of all fitness, and secondly consistency.
18 minutes to play. Ivory Coast 0, Norway 1 here on TalkSport. As Frank Kessie of Al-Akli brings it forward here for Ivory Coast in towards Diallo, but he's given the ball away. It's played forward by Berger into Berg, and all the way back to the Norway penalty area. Royan Neeland, good ball forward from him though to find Pedersen, and Pedersen though is beaten to it by the pace of Diamande, who gave him a couple of yards and still went past him.
Yeah, no, when you hear someone breathing down your neck and you know he's quicker than you, then lay the ball off or protect the ball.
Diallo coming forward now for Ivory Coast, wide to Doué. And Diallo again scored his 7th international goal for Ivory Coast in the opening game. And they really ground that out against Ecuador, but looks a much better result now than it did at the time. Sangare wide towards the far side, and Diallo, he's got Doué on the outside, looks to work the 1-2 with Pepe. Diallo deep into the penalty area, still going. Oh, what a goal! Amad Diallo with a goal for the ages for the Ivory Coast. That's a World Cup moment they will never forget. The Manchester United youngster weaved his way into the penalty area. Norway simply couldn't live with him. And right at the end of a slalom-like dribble, he found the finish to hammer it low beyond Neeland. And it's Ivory Coast 1, Norway 1, and Amad Diallo with a moment he'll never forget.
Well, in this World Cup match, we have now seen two goals that will stand the test of time. There was a brilliant goal by Antonio Musa. This one, I would argue, was even better. Coming in from the right, a little 1-2, close control, on his left foot, no one able to get close to him. He goes past one, he jinks inside the other, and then he shoots really quickly so he doesn't allow a third defender to make the block. There's a little bit of a bobble into the goal. That keeper's got no chance in the end. And do you know what? We said Ivory Coast will step it up. We said this could get end to end. It's been doing exactly that. Two brilliant goals today. And who's to say there won't be more?
Well, Amad Diallo, the ultimate impact player for Ivory Coast here. His first real involvement from the bench. And he's hauled them back into the World Cup.
Now, I want to be careful with sort of comparisons here. So now I'm going to name the big hitters. If you see a Lionel Messi run like that with the close control, it's just so difficult to do. You know, it's literally got to be each time you touch the ball, inches from the touch. So you've got to do quick, short touches, because you know that if you overplay it just by an extra 3 or 4 inches, a defender's going to come in. So for him to have the balance, the ability, the touch and the composure to do exactly what he's just done, as I say, that will stand the test of time for any World Cup goal.
He cleared off the line at one end to keep his team alive, and now he's equalised at the other. And it's 1-1 with 14 minutes of normal time to play. We've had a lot of extra time so far in this round of 32, and we could be set for more here in Dallas.
Do you know what? I hope so.
Ødegaard into the centre circle, and that goal came after Norway had made changes as well, as Berg plays it wide to the far side. It's clipped back in towards Berg. He lofts it high into the area. Ødegaard unable to bring it down. Skelderup will try and turn, but he's challenged by Conan, and it will be a throw into Norway on this near side. And we said this game was 50-50 at the start, and it really is now.
It really is. I mean, next goal wins it. And Martin Ødegaard, if that's on his left foot, he's striking that on the volley first time. 12 yards out, right in front of goal. Yeah, it's your right foot, but have a go at it.
Holmgren. Pedersen now on this near side, and he's got away from Diamande. The crossing though is headed away by Agbadou, and Ivory Coast will look to break now with Wahi. He's got support on his outside, and it's Pepe wide on the right. Diallo looking to get forward in the middle. Now Wahi back heel again towards Pepe. He goes down looking for the penalty. Absolutely no chance. But there was a break on there, and Diallo was completely unmarked with a better ball in field. And Pepe and I are smiling after that.
Yeah, Pepe knows it. I mean, again, it's a really good run and not a tackle you want to be making in the box. Not enough to warrant a penalty.
Skelderup finding Ødegaard. Ødegaard challenged by Sangare. Skelderup again on the left. He's got support from Berger. Berg is also coming over there, but Ivory Coast now have the opportunity to reset, having equalised in this game. A cross in from Skelderup, straight into the arms of Fofana. And Ivory Coast coming forward now with Diamande. They're not waiting for extra time. They think they can win this. Diallo on the outside, Diamande waiting for him to get there. Diallo pulls it back, and it's Aya with an important challenge, but the flag's up for offside after all of that, because Diallo had just made his move too soon. 7.5 minutes between a goal line clearance at one end and an outstanding goal at the other.
Well, you know, they call them finishing nowadays, finishers. They're not, they're subs. But what you do want is you want them to come on the pitch and affect the game. And Amad Diallo has certainly done that at both ends, as you rightly point out, Nige. I talked about Oscar Bob and Schilderup. Need to see them get a bit more involved in the game.
Pedersen has got support from Bob on the outside here, on the right. And now Ødegaard. Haaland waits in the centre. Right towards Pedersen again. He swings it in, looking for Haaland. He was the only white shirt there. Kasunu bangs it straight up in the air. Agbadou clears towards this near side. But now Pedersen again. Low in towards Ødegaard. And Bob onto that left foot. If he comes inside though, there's plenty of orange shirts waiting for him, so he encourages Sander Berge to go on the outside, and in the end he wins it back. Ivory Coast making a hash of the clearance until Conan hammers the ball away. Well, Amad Diallo scored 2 Premier League goals last season for Manchester United. He scored twice already at this World Cup. Schilderup coming forward now for Norway. 10 minutes to play on TalkSport. 1-1 in Dallas. Sander Berge 25 yards out, finding Ødegaard now inside the penalty area. It's wide towards Bob, and the pass back in field rather got Ødegaard's feet in a tangle, and it's cleared away by Conan. But a good spell here for Norway, having regrouped following the blow of conceding the equaliser, having led for a long time in this game. Diamande on this near side. They scored 6 minutes before half-time. Diallo equalising 16 minutes before the end. And now there is an Ivory Coast player down, and it's Amad Diallo just clutching the small of his back. And the referee, I think, tells him to get up.
Well, he went down, tried to get up, and then went straight back down again, as if like, now my back's killing me. He still can't get up at the moment.
Patrick Berg will be trying to help him up, but Diallo claims he might need some assistance here. He scored the 45th goal from a sub during this World Cup so far. Of course, we saw Martinelli come up with the match-winning moment last night, and it's another Premier League starlet who's scored here this evening to make it 1-1.
Great goal, just a great goal. Running at pace inside the box, the ball like just at the end of a bit of string. No one can dare to try to make a challenge. It looks like he's going to shoot on his right foot, but he cuts back inside on his left foot, kind of hits it into the ground, which then sort of bounces over the keeper, certainly his arm anyway. It's a wonderful goal, it really is.
Well, Diallo is just coming across to this near side. Of course, he'll have to stay off for a minute. Those are the new laws.
Well, it's not as if he's time wasting, it's 1-1, but
no.
You know, the laws are the laws. He's gone down, the referee gave him a chance to get up, he tried to get back up, he needed physio treatment. Well, boo all you like, Ivory Coast fans, but it's spot on.
But after Morocco's victory on penalties last night, the African challenge remaining strong at this World Cup. Of course, South Africa did go out to Canada, and we will see what DR Congo and Senegal do tomorrow. DR Congo facing England in Atlanta, live on TalkSport at 5 o'clock. And then Senegal against Belgium at 9 on TalkSport 2, as a change being made for Norway, and Marcus Pedersen has come off, and Frederick Osnes of Benfica has come on. He was the only ever present in the group stage. So I wonder what they'll do to shuffle things around here, because Osnes is a midfielder and they've taken off a right back.
Well, he is a midfielder, but he has played right back. I've seen him play there for Benfica. I much prefer him in midfield, and I think he can be got at, but he's so sort of football intelligent that actually he never finds himself in a one-on-one situation, but he will not want to be in a one-on-one situation here against Diamande.
And he's playing as the right back. He retired from international football a couple of years ago, and his first recall was for this squad, so clearly he'd had words with Charles Stolbakken. As Oliver Wolf comes forward here for Norway. 6 minutes to play here on Talk Sport. Extra time is looming in Dallas. 1-1 the score. Ødegaard midway inside the Ivory Coast half. He's got 3 orange shirts bearing down on him, but of course he's always the calmest player on the field, and he finds Orsnes. And now Berger wide to the left hand side, and Hegem, who had that great chance to make it 2-0. Skelder up on the left for Norway, back towards Berger again, and Skelder up's got support from Mollewolf, but he comes inside himself, clips it towards the edge of the penalty area. Diamande will clear, and here is Mollewolf again. And Berger, good spell of possession is for Norway, close to the Ivorian penalty area. Ødegaard, clever touch, and the crossing from Skelder up on the left hand side is blocked by Doué at the near post, and it will be a throw-in.
Lovely little flick from Ødegaard, wasn't it? And Skeldrup is on his left foot. He's a winger. I know he's an inverted winger on the left, but he's got to be comfortable putting the ball in first time on his left foot. And now Doué to make the clearance.
Now Ødegaard once again, all the way back towards Ayer. And Hegem, and both Ayer and Hegem have done well to quell the threat of a variety of Ivorian attackers, and they were just undone by a moment of genius from Amad Diallo. Ødegaard seems to have stepped up again since the equaliser to really take the game by the scruff of the neck, and he finds Bob with an excellent ball into the area. Patrick Berg finding Haaland, and Erling Haaland may have won it. Norway look to their go-to man, and Erling Haaland, as ever, on the fringes of the game, but when it really matters, he is on the end of things. And as his father watches on, Erling Haaland taps in from a couple of yards out and puts Norway within sight of their first ever knockout victory at the World Cup. 4 minutes to play. Ivory Coast 1, Norway 2.
Well, I want to see that again, because I'm not sure that came off the side of his foot, and that could have been one of the biggest misses that Erling Haaland did. Oh, certainly he put it back towards the keeper when the keeper was out of the goal. Certainly at least half the goal covered, and Fofana, the Ivory Coast keeper, dived for it. It kind of came off his heel rather than the side of the foot, but it doesn't matter. Right place, right time. It's the goal. And it was a really well-worked goal as well. I just feel maybe Ivory Coast have given it everything and just started to tire. Just switched off there. Patrick Berg, who's been brilliant, trying to cover their back four and protect the back four. He was the one getting in the box there, and I'm thinking, shoot! But no, in that situation, he knows who he wants in front of goal.
It's his 60th.
Another one.
His 60th Norway goal in 53 appearances. His 5th goal at this World Cup. And if anyone can stop Lionel Messi taking the golden boot, it may be Erling Haaland.
Yeah, I think between him and Mbappe, be interesting to see how many goals they score at the end of their career in the World Cup.
Change made for the Ivory Coast in the aftermath of that. Nicolas Pepe has gone off, and Oumar Diakite has come on. But Ødegaard again was at the heart of that move, releasing Berg, and you just felt that he's decided he doesn't want extra time, and he was going to do everything to avoid it.
Absolutely. And as the game sort of opens up and the players get tired, he's the one who's always on the ball. He knows what he wants to do before he even receives it. Such football intelligence. He's able to play 1 or 2 touch, help control the tempo of the game, wrestle it back if need be, or just threading that pass that won't go down as an assist. It's an assist to the assist, but without that pass, the goal wouldn't have happened.
And Haaland has now scored in his last 13 competitive games for Norway. 25 goals, and he's looking for another one here, but Kasunu denies him. But here is Ødegaard, 2 minutes to play, Norway leading 2-1. And after the Manchester United player looked to have forced extra time, it's the Manchester City number 9 who may have taken the game away from Ivory Coast. But I think they'll be at least 5 or 6 minutes of added time here, and Norway could add to that here because that rather dallying over a throw-in. Osnes will take it in towards Ødegaard. Kessie makes the challenge and he actually forces Ødegaard out of play, and Ødegaard is furious that the assistant referee doesn't give him a free kick.
They don't mess about the officials in the World Cup. They have that look as if like, don't even try and argue with me.
Yeah. I'm the one holding the flag.
Exactly.
Still time though for Ivory Coast. Diallo on the halfway line, right towards Diomande. And Diomande now will try and attack the penalty area. Bob has come back to help out defensively. And Diallo strides into the box, but Osnes makes a good challenge, and here is Ødegaard, and suddenly we have only 40 seconds of normal time to play.
Where's that gone? How quick has that gone? Last 10-15 minutes. Jan Diomande has given it absolutely everything. He's been superb, but he'd stick another naught in the end if he was able to create something out of nothing.
Now Berg coming forward, looking for Haaland again. Can he roll the challenge of Agbadou? He can, but in the end it was Skelderup who I think took the ball off Haaland's toes, and the ball bobbled wide. Well, he just comes alive when he has to.
Yeah, and to be fair, I think he knew the defender was really close to him, but it's probably just worth a pop first time. See what happens, might go through his legs, keeper unsighted.
7 added minutes. Ivory Coast 1, Norway 2. Still time for the Africans to come back into this game.
Do you know what, I think it's one of those where I think it's harsh on Ivory Coast if they get knocked out here, and yet if it was role reversal and they'd scored the second goal, I'd say exactly the same about Norway. It's been a really good game of football, especially the second half.
Ivory Coast rather forcing, they've given the ball away, and here is Haaland, who plays it wide to Berg, and the Bodo Glimt player, the home-based player in this team, has really had a massive role to play for Norway.
Yeah, he's been excellent. He's done so much without the ball that people might not notice, but as I say, he's tried to help and protect the back foot, not allow Bonnet any time if he brings the ball forward.
Now Wahi looking to chase a ball forward. He goes down on the edge of the area under pressure from Aya. Aya thinks he should have been offside. Wahi wanted a free kick, and in the end nothing is given. Osnes with a clearance downfield, which is blocked by Diomande, who tries to recover it, and he does. And now Conan finding Diallo. Conan again down the left-hand side, plays the high cross into the penalty area. Oh, it's been fumbled by the goalkeeper, but in the end Norway get away with it. Now Diakite back towards Kessie on the right. Wahi waits in the centre. Kessie though goes short to Sangare. They've got to get the ball wide here. Diakite down the line for Kessie. He's quickly challenged by Motley-Wolf. And now the high cross into the penalty area. Diomande leaping for it. He leapt into Osnes, who's gone down clutching his head, and it's a free kick.
Well, yeah, you're right. It was about getting the ball in the box, and they worked it well. Conan, just 30 seconds before, dinked it to the far post, and Neelan's made an absolute hash of that. Left back Motley-Wolf has really helped him out because there were 2 Ivory Coast players at the far post, but the left back made sure he got there first. Just finishing on what I was saying on Patrick Berg, he's done such a good job. I mean, Bodo Glimt, he probably reflects, Bodo Glimt really underrated side considering how actually good they are and how overachieved they do. And then he's been brilliant. Many people not really noticing what he can do, but the teammates certainly will. But getting into that position, I think 9 out of 10 players would have had a shot, but no, he's realised that there's a guy called Erling Haaland has a better chance of sticking it in the net than me, and he's found him. Do you think it almost come off his sort of back of his foot there, Erling Haaland?
Yeah, I don't think it was the cleanest strike, but it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter.
Evan Gesson of Crystal Palace has come on, along with Bazumama Tiore of Hoffenheim, as Ivory Coast chase this game. Jan Diomande, one of the players who has gone off, as they seek a very late equaliser here in added time. Of course, we saw Morocco equalise in added time against the Netherlands last night, as Toure tries to bring it forward here. Osnes though wins it back, and he tries to go beyond the challenge of Agbadou, and it will head out of play for a goal kick in the end. And have Ivory Coast got anything left here, Scott?
Well, certainly substitutions have been made. I think the players who started the game are very tired, and obviously so, understandably so. I think Norway have been really good, and again we talk about Martin Ødegaard. Sometimes he's not quite hitting the heights of brilliance, but he really does help control games. And go back to the conversation we had with Perry at the start of the game, before the game, about midfield so important, and he has helped control the tempo of the game for Norway.
Ivory Coast come forward again now with Diallo. Looks to work that 1-2 with Diakite, but this time it's cleared away by Skelderup, but a good challenge on the far side by Diakite. Here is Doué, 2.5 minutes of added time to play. Diakite's ball in, it flicked off the Norwegian head, and Osnes was there at the far post to clear. Now Sangare, he was fouled midway inside the Norway half by Ødegaard. Ødegaard has words with Sangare. Ødegaard's been mouthing off the entire game. He's had a fine game, but he's let the officials know, and now Evan Gesson has only just come on, is having words. Christopher Ayer, it's all the Premier League players who are clearly getting one or two things out of their system here.
Absolutely. I mean, look, Martin Ødegaard thought he was brought down for a foul. Referee said play on, and I agree with him. It's the slightest of touches on Sangare. There's no way that the height difference and the physicality difference that he would go down, but he's clever, Sangare. He didn't get the ball, Ødegaard. He made contact. Sangare realised, I'm 30 yards out, bang in front of goal, I'm going down, I'll probably win a free kick, and he has.
Frankesi is over this along with Amad Diallo. Do they go for goal at this stage with 90 seconds to play?
There's only a two-man wall. It's straight as well, so it's not easy to kind of dink it to the far post. Just have a pop and get it on target, see if there's a rebound.
It's Diallo. He curls it! Oh, it's tipped over by Neeland! What a save, which may have sent Norway into the round of 16.
Well, Amad Diallo cannot believe that has been tipped over. That is pretty much, almost, as much in the corner, top corner, as he can get. And Neeland dives to his right, but saves it with his left hand. What a wonder strike, and an even better save.
Into the 97th minute. Diallo will take the corner kick on this near side. High into the near post, it's flicked away. Kessie will try and recover it. And the Ivory Coast could be in trouble here if they lose it. Diakite overruns it, Bob with a challenge, and it will be a throw-in for Norway on this near side. And Øyvind Neeland, a player with so little football behind him coming into this World Cup, has produced one of the saves of the World Cup there.
Yeah, I mean, I was slightly surprised that it was only 2 men in the wall, but it did mean that Neeland could see it and not have to stand over one side. Because if it had been over the left-hand side and the wall was there, Diallo got it up and over the wall, and that would have been a goal.
Thumped downfield by the Ivory Coast again. Wahi on the far side, he's got support. It's brought forward by Diakite down the right. The challenge comes in though from Muller-Wolf. Diakite stays on his feet. Ayer puts it behind. It's a corner. The final chance here for Ivory Coast. Diallo will take this. Everybody's got to get forward. Fofana, the goalkeeper, is forward. This is it for the Ivory Coast. And then the referee blows his whistle and brings everything down a notch or two.
The way you built that up, Nigel, was just superb. Let's go again.
Diallo will take the corner kick for Ivory Coast. Fofana, the goalkeeper, is at the near post. Diallo's delivery in towards Fofana. Oh, it's been lost initially by the goalkeeper, but now it's gathered by Doué. May need some support on this near side. We're into the 8th minute of added time, and it's all over. Norway have done it. And as Alfie Inge Haaland celebrates in the stands, Erling Haaland, the Norway match winner, knows he's carried his team through a very difficult game. Ivory Coast played so well, but when you've got Erling Haaland on your team, you always have a chance, and it will be Norway against Brazil in the round of 16. It's been some game in Dallas, and it's finished Ivory Coast 1, Norway 2.